the representative seat. The American Community Survey form is one that has sparked a bit of controversy in Indian country because it is a long form that asks very specific information and lots of questions and great information for people like you and I who are grant dependent and need the statistical information. But because American Indians are such a small population, to use that type of survey targeting, you know, a random population, because we're such a small population, we're going to get a small return. And so American Indian communities, tribal governments really need to put their heads together and think of another way in which to address some of these vital questions that are going to better serve our communities. And I think that's a dialogue that's ongoing, and I can imagine that that's going to be a dialogue that we'll hear more about and we'll all be able to participate.
Okay. And then, you know, is there a difference between the way the information is used or gathered? I know that there is the American Indian Alaskan Native policy, and which is involving federally recognized tribes. So is there any differential between the federally recognized tribes and the non-federally recognized tribes?
We ask that every person, you know, whether they're from a federally recognized tribe, state recognized tribe, or unfederally recognized tribe, mark the American Indian box and write in their tribe's name. It's important, you know, to have that information. I also ask that people make sure that they write what's in the Federal Register. Mm-hmm. And if your tribe's not in the Federal Register, to write in your tribe's name. Okay.
Okay, and then, so let's see. So the U.S. Census, you know, they have, under the American Indian and Alaskan Native policy, they have, you know, stuff that's introduced there that talks about the privacy issues. Can you discuss that? Because I'd like to really get to the, you know, some of the myths and, you know, regarding gathering of information on federally, or not federally recognized, but all Native people.
Right. Well, we like to say that the census, it's easy, it's important, and it's safe.
Okay.
And by safe, we mean that your information is held in strict confidence. Mm-hmm. If anyone shares this information, it's punishable by a federal prison term as well as a $250,000 fine. And like I said before, the President of the United States cannot have access to this information. American Indians have historically had a distrust of the federal government for very good reasons. And the census, we have worked very hard to relay to American Indian communities, both on and off reservation communities, that this information is not going to be used to hurt them, it's going to be used to help them. And it's held in strict confidence, but this is pertinent to healthcare benefits, educational benefits, infrastructure, tribal government programs, senior citizen programs. And, you know, there's a myth out there that whatever the government does now is bad, and that's not necessarily true. This is an opportunity for us to make sure that we get our fair share.
Right. Okay, so you brought a video clip. Can you introduce the clip that you brought?
Yeah. In October, the National Congress of American Indians was here in Southern California in Palm Springs, and we took that opportunity to not only meet with the director of the United States Census, Director Groves, but we also took that opportunity to film 23 public service announcements using a multi-Emmy award-winning film director, a native film director, James Fortier. And we filmed 23 public service announcements featuring tribal elected officials speaking to their communities. I think the one we're going to show here today features former United States Senator Campbell.
Okay.
And he talks to the importance of the census, and I believe we also may be seeing a video clip of Juana Mahol, who is our legislative director at PAMA, the Pama Indian Reservation, and is the vice president of the National Congress of American Indians Pacific Region.
Okay, great. So if we can see that clip, please.
I would say to our Indian people, show your traditional courage. A lot of Indian people are a little reluctant to deal with any federal agency or any government agency because they've had so many bad experiences in the past. Those days are gone, thank God. They're gone, and we're turning a new leaf. And I tend to be believe in Dr. Martin Luther King's way of making social change through participation, not through just burning something down. If you really believe, as most Native people do, that we should not be just looking out for ourselves, but setting something in place for the 7th generation, what you do now by being counted in the census may be one small piece of making it a little better for that 7th generation. I am Cheyenne, and I count.
So once all of this is, all the information is gathered, when do they end the gathering of the census reports?
Well, we like to say and encourage your audience and all American Indians, today is Census Day, right?
Okay.
So United States government had hoped that everybody would mail back their forms today. But with American Indian tribal communities, reservation communities, census enumerators actually have to go out to most of the reservations, knock on the doors, and have the forms filled out. And that is an ongoing activity that's happening on our Indian reservations. We anticipate that by the end of this month, that census takers will have done their enumeration on the reservations, and then between May and July, for those people who did not fill in their forms, census workers will again knock on their doors several times if need be to make sure that those forms are completed. So the federal government takes this very seriously to actually have workers go out there on more than one occasion to get that filled out. By December 31st, by law, the Census Bureau delivers population counts to the president for apportionment. So you'll start to see those numbers by the end of the year. And then by 2011, we'll begin to see some of the other statistical data coming out of the census collection. But it's so critically important that we tell people it's not too late to send your census form in. Okay. Even though April 1st is Census Day, it's not too late to send your census form in.
Okay, and what if you did not receive a form?
If you're one of the few, hopefully, that didn't receive the form, and we are hoping that everybody did, we have what is called question assistance centers. Okay. And they're located throughout the country in various locations. And you can call 1-866-872-6868. Again, that's 1-866-872-6868. The Question Assistance Center will provide you with the specific location of where you can pick up a form, so that you can make sure that you fill out your form and get it in the mail and send it back as soon as possible.
Okay, and if, for instance, we may have a homeless population that didn't receive the form. That's the way that they would be counted. Is that correct?
The census actually has trained individuals to work with the homeless populations. Okay. They have trained individuals to work with the prison populations, trained individuals to work with college dorms. So the census has it covered. They're about counting every single human being in the United States, and they spent a lot of time locating household units, whether they were, cars or makeshift units. They're about counting every single person. So there are individuals who have specialized training to work with homeless communities and, like I said, prison communities as well. Okay,
so has this produced a lot of jobs within the state, gathering the information?
Absolutely. Right now, the census is the largest employer in the United States. Okay. Right now, the census is the largest advertiser in the United States. So this is your taxpayer dollars and stimulus monies being used for good purposes. I was very excited to see 50 or so American Indians be hired in Southern California to work on this, and they were so enthusiastic. Many of my former students are partnership assistants in the census program because they believe in the cause. Mm-hmm. They know how critically important this is, especially recent college grads who needed statistical information, and so it's kind of a labor of love as well as necessity. And so there have been plenty of job opportunities. In fact, we did a number of job testings all over Indian reservations and in urban Indian populations, trying to find not only Indians to service the Indian populations, but Indians to work in other general populations as well. So there have been a number of wonderful opportunities that made available to all Americans, but specifically to American Indians who want to service their communities.
So as part of being part of the marketing of this, have you experienced any reluctance to participate in the census and as